Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Varsity Aces Live here on Facebook. My name is Darren Cooper, the high school sports columnist on NorthJersey.com. And we have a very special show again this week. Joining us this week, my dear friend and colleague, Mr. Paul Schwartz, legendary veteran writer for the Record and Herald News and NorthJersey.com. And our first guest this week, North Jersey Interscholastic Conference President, Stan Fryczynski. No bucket hat, Stan? Come on, I gave you the plug and everything. No bucket hat.
Yeah, I knew you were going there. Okay, you can look at my characters are in the back there. You can see the picture.
So, Stan, firstly, how are you? How's your family? How's everybody doing?
Good, thank you. Everybody is fine. We're holding up. Thank you.
And I guess it's been a spring unlike any other you've ever seen, right, Stan? This has to be odd for coaches, for the league. I mean, just there's so much uncertainty, huh?
Oh, exactly. And in any capacity I've ever served, and I've never seen anything like this before. So
what kind of steps has the league taken? What kind of plans do we have? Like a plan A and a plan B, depending on what the governor says and what we'll do?
Well, obviously, it all hinges on what the governor, what he will come out with as far as the back to school release date. But we do have a plan of action. We met with on a conference call with our executive committee last Tuesday, and I've also been in contact with our assigners in our conference. And right after we get the go-ahead, the green light date, we will put the 6 days and 1 day off in, the 6-day rule. And we will set every division, each of the sports, softball, baseball, tennis, they will go with, just as their schedule was indicated, with their league opponents in that order, their divisional opponents spread out. They would be, depending upon how many days we have left. That's the key thing, that's how many days we have in the calendar. With golf, we're just going to try to work our way around with the courses, and we definitely want to plan to have at least a championship for them. And in track, we would like to have one, if not at least 2 quad or tri meets, so that everybody could get their feet wet. Coaches could more or less see what they have in any young or new talent, not just seniors, and a conference championship there as well.
Schwat, don't you find it interesting how we've talked about state tournaments and county tournaments, but somebody like Stan, and the league title is what matters to almost more teams than anybody.
Right, and most of your schedule is always the league. Yeah. Whether it's in any sport, you're playing most of your matches, your meets, or whatever it is within a league structure. The league sort of goes away when county and state tournaments start, but the league is always the thing that you return to the following year. I think it's really terrific that they have plans so far ahead, because frankly, the state tournament would be probably the first thing that drops off. If the governor for some reason were to say on May 15th, we're going to reopen June 1st, the state might say, well, that's too late for us to have state championships, but the leagues could still have a month of competition. So I think it really is the foundation of any sport, is the league structure.
So Stan, though, could the league hypothetically host events to June 30th then?
Again, the strike date is what's important. And the state has had said in our league and conference the week before this that if the days was too shortened, that the groups were obviously out, and the tournament would be the sectional tournament for every sport would be the Zoom or the attempted date. And if we started much later, as Paul just said, into June, it would come down completely to the conferences running their various divisions or conference type championships. That would be the nucleus of the season right there. In our situation, we want to get at least everybody plays their divisional opponent one time, so that we could at least give them the benefit of a divisional championship, no matter which sport it is. And as I said, give tennis and golf at least a championship meet or a championship round of golf. So again, it all comes down to when we'll be allowed to return to school and get our 6 days in. That's important as well.
So Stan, how many conference championships now do we have in the NJIC?
Off the top of my head, I don't I won't be, well, in the spring, we don't have, except for golf, we don't have a full overall conference championship. And even golf is a two-tier, two-division. We've let the spring season to be the last one. And if you allow me to backtrack, you'll know it's because we've expanded the fall and the winter season to conference championships. And we've let those to the end, partially because the weather has such a bearing on the spring season that we took care of the first two, and then and there is some talk and there is some strategy taking place. Hopefully, that we would be able to venture towards some type of overall conference championship in, say, baseball and tennis and softball. I know Paul has written me a little bit about track as well, and it's not something that's out that we've thrown out or thrown away. The thought process is there. We just felt as a conference that we'd be making a big mistake if we jumped into every sport and tried to do that, and instead go slowly a season at a time and learn by our mistakes, or learn by what you did here and tweak it and be able to make it applicable to the next round or next sport that you pay attention to.
Well, I think the fact that cross country is going to have a conference championship next year, obviously that's an easier conference championship to put together because the cross country race is a race and not a series of events. But
correct, but there's another conference because now we're coming off from divisional and advancing the divisional medalist to a overall conference champion, and that's the newest one on the table for next fall.
So, Stan, what's been like the feedback from the ADs in the conference? You know, what concerns? What are they worried about? What are they talking about when y'all had the meeting this week?
Well, what they're really worried about, and everyone I think is quite sincere about it, is that it's really unfortunate for the senior athletes, for the boys and girls on those programs. And the whole talk is not that we're ignoring our underclassmen, we certainly are not. And those sports mean as much to them. But we've all been through the high school process, and we understand many of those things build up memories. It's nostalgic, and it's just as important for the senior parents as it is for the seniors themselves, because they take a lot of pride in shuttling them around from the time they were in youth leagues and whatnot to be able to maybe see for the last time their son or daughter participating in interscholastic sports. So it's big all the way around in the conference for everyone. We are truly hoping we get some type of time, and any type of period we get at all, we will put together some type of schedule so that they will have a semblance of some accomplishment in the spring.
And Stan, is it the question we just got from the audience? Is it too early to be worried about the fall? Obviously, people are already worried about football season.
No, it's not. If this thing drags on, and if for some reason we get a second wave, or everybody comes back too soon in terms of larger groupings, for example, we canceled our sportsmanship luncheon because we just felt it was way too many people in one room at one time. And I'm sure we're going to be going about the process slowly. And I think everybody's playing off of each other. They're looking at what pro sports have done, and they're looking at what some of the other organizations have done, large scale, even walkathons or fundraisers, all sorts of large concerts. And when you have those type of things being canceled or postponed to a later date, you have to think that our Board of Eds and superintendents and all those above, mayors and councils, that they're all thinking the same thing about, what if, when do we start the summer practices or allowances? So yes, it's not too early at all. The thought process is there.
Stan, let me follow up, Stan. I'm sorry, Darren. Have you talked to any, or has anyone within the conference talked to any other medical personnel, or are you just relying on the information you're getting from the state?
Strictly the state, Paul. I mean, it's all we have to go by, and when the governor gives the release, then it will come down to we are still uncertain as to what particular school systems will do. It could very well be that some superintendents or Board of Educations may not permit their people to come back perhaps right away on the strike date. And that is something that we will have to weigh when we come up against it. And we'll still try to provide what we can for those who are all in. But at the same token, we've got to listen to any state or county health officials as well as the governor on this. So when we get a little closer and we have a strike date, I think that we'll also probably branch out to see what other professional opinions there are out there.
I have to follow up on football, Stan, because it's North Jersey always talk. But the way the NJIC league structure is and schedule is, man, because with everybody playing their own divisional opponent and then advancing into such a great concept for the championship game, if we shorten that season, that kind of crimps what could happen for the NJIC, doesn't it? I mean, it could get messy.
Well, we already have a 7-game schedule that's already in a plan B if that comes to that. So we're already prepared as to what route we'll take with that. So that subject's already come up, and Charlie Voorhees and I have been in discussion, and he's already assured me that we can still push a 7-game schedule for the entire conference.
We might be looking at, though, where there might not be a state football playoff. You might crown the NJIC champion December 1st.
That's possible. Yes, it is. That's possible that we might go that route, or we won't have a conference championship, and we maybe only have to push into a streamlined sectional type of play. But
right.
Once again, we're already looking at those options.
So last thing for you, when's the next meeting? Like when's the next time your group is going to get together and talk things over?
We will be getting together probably later on in the day, if not the following morning after the governor gives us the green light. Hopefully the green light.
And I know you don't know the answer, but optimistic, Stan? Let's stay optimistic a little for spring.
I think I feel that everyone is holding out with a little bit of optimism. Yes. I haven't heard anybody just say pack it in or throw in the towel yet. We may not get what we want this time coming around for the 15th. It could be that we'll wind up looking at June. But I think for the kids' sake, I think we really ought to have an MO where we will try to put something together if we have any opportunity or any sort of ample time to be able to do that for them.
All right. Stan Fryczynski, thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Varsity Aces Live. Stan does a fantastic job. I can't believe he didn't wear the bucket hat today. But I know he'll keep us informed with everything the NJIC has going on.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you gentlemen tonight.
See you soon, Stan.
Bye-bye now, Paul.
All right, we're going to now segue into, I've called this guy like the busiest coach in North Jersey. His name is Dennis Murri. He is from Ridgefield Park, and he'll be joining me along with my other dear friend in college, Mr. Sean Farrell. Sean, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Darren?
I'm good, my friend. Dennis, how are you today, Coach?
Good. You guys can see me? How's my hair? We good?
Need a haircut, I think. Yeah,
nobody else can get them nowadays.
It's true. It's true. I think my wife is going to have to cut mine this weekend. Actually, I'm actually combing mine now. This is awful.
I've become a professional. I'm doing my son's fades. I'm an expert now.
Dennis, we wanted to have you on and talk a little bit about girls wrestling and how much it's growing in this region. We added an all North Jersey team this season for girls wrestling. We're having a Player of the Year award for the first time, and that'll be unveiled later this season. And you've really been a guy that's been fighting for that recognition for girls wrestlers, whether it's us, whether it's for the Bergen County coaches, and I applaud you for that. Just first thing, how special was it for you this season to see the sport take off? How special was it for the athletes as well at Elmwood Park?
Oh my God, it was incredible. It was unbelievable, and I owe a lot of that to you guys. You guys did such an outstanding job covering it. I feel like I should pay Sean. Sean came in that day and actually typed out all the results for us. That I didn't have to do it at the end of the day. Saved me a couple hours of work. I felt like I owed him a paycheck. But the excitement around the tournament was just unbelievable, and we learned a very important thing about girls championships. When girls win the county titles, county championships, they cry. And they make their big, tough wrestling coaches cry too, which was pretty funny to see. I saw a lot of big, muscular guys with a lot of mist in their eyes trying to hold them back. So it was a beautiful, exciting thing to see. I think you saw some of the pictures of those girls getting choked up at the end, and I'd be lying to say if I wasn't one of them. So we had our girl champion, Kaya. Austiniak. So it was a pretty exciting time. And the venue really fit the excitement of it. It was a little bit of a smaller, so the crowd was rocking, and the attention to the tournament was more than I could have possibly asked. And then obviously leading into the States, and the region tournament was bigger than ever. So it was really, really exciting to see it take off the way it did this year.
And clearly the popularity is taking off. Do you feel like the quality of wrestling is getting better? Are we raising the level over the last 2 years?
So fast too, unbelievably fast. I mean, I've seen the quality of wrestling with girls in the younger levels, but they tend to have quit in the past as it got into the high school level. And I'm not going to lie, even when I went over to Elmwood Park, I was a little skeptical. Tommy Mulligan was really excited. It was the first year they were having the States. He brought me on staff and he said, "Dan, we have 6 girls on the team this year." And I was kind of skeptical because my experience in the past had been that the girls just didn't make it through a season. That might have been because they didn't have the opportunities that are now presented, and the girls would quit as the season went on because they were forced to wrestle boys over and over. But I got on with this group, and a couple girls right off the bat excited me, and they won me over. The girl Natalie Vega and Maria Tzeva were just so into it, as aggressive as the boys, as dedicated. And then I watched them go out there and brawl, and they quickly won me over, made it through the season. And then the next thing you know, we're down at the States, and both of them placed in the first ever girls States. And then I got to give me jumping on the wagon of fighting for this whole thing. I gotta tell you, as usual, my wife told me what I had to do. My wife said, these girls did something really special. You should go and fight for them to get all county recognition. They should be recognized by the county. So I contacted Darren, who put me in touch with the president of the BCWCA, put together a proposal for the girls to get all county recognition, the girls who had placed in the States, and the foresight of Nicole Pisciani and a couple people on the BCWCA board, Phil Paspis from Pascack Hills especially. They were really on board with doing it, but they told me, they said, "Listen, if you want this to be legitimate, you have to run a girls' county tournament." Right. And I knew how much work would go into that, so I was a little worried about that. But I took on the responsibility, and the outstanding administration at Elmwood Park High School. I couldn't say enough about how on board they were. The principals, the principal Warner and Samuels, on top of Dan Basil, the athletic director, they couldn't have been more excited to have it, to host it at Elmwood Park. They wanted it there, and their support was incredible. And then the tournament just went off so smoothly. I have this little team that I've been using to run every tournament that I've been involved in the last 27 years of my right hand, Joy Wickersheim, and my daughter helps her out as her assistant, my daughter Samantha, and they ran the head table. Things went so smooth that we actually had to slow the tournament down because the girls weren't getting enough rest between rounds because it was so organized and went off so well. I had a great group of officials that I handpicked, a group of great guys. And like I said, I couldn't say enough about how well the tournament went. The feedback was incredible, and we're expecting it's going to be a lot larger next year, a lot larger. We're already have plans to make sure that there's at least a third mat in the tournament.
And when you
Dennis,
this tournament,
I want to go to one point. Sean, remember we were in Atlantic City. I remember watching the girls' matches with you and telling you the wrestling's so much better than it was the year before. Like the first year, there were a lot of, like one move and pin, and there were a lot more competitive matches down in Atlantic City. I'm curious to know, Dennis, what is the future on the state level? What has there been some talk of, pulling the girls out of Atlantic City?
Well, yeah, actually there has. Kim Cole is looking into the future of this, and I think she's on the right path with a lot of things. I think we are a little cautious about pulling it out of Atlantic City because we're worried about the attention dropping off, but the options seem to be pretty good, and it's going to be for the benefit of the sport. First and foremost, the first thing that has to happen is we have to add a couple more regions, whether we add, because right now it's just a north and a south region, which the tournament's so big. You got huge weight classes that are whittling down to just 2 or 3 girls to make it down, 3 girls to make it down to Atlantic City, and only 6 are making it to the state tournament. So we want to bring more to the state tournament. So for that reason, it's kind of got to move away from Atlantic City, and we want to have more regions. I would say 4 would be great, because if you could have 4 regions and you send 3 girls from each region, you would have 12 go down to the state tournament, or even send 4 and have a 16-person tournament. But the venue has to be, attractive also. Like I said, I would really like to keep it in Atlantic City if it could be organized, but with its growth, it just might not be feasible. It slows down the boys tournament. But the talk of possibly really exciting venues might keep its attention, as exciting.
One of the other highlights from this year was when you had the first girls wrestling dual meet between Elmwood Park and Immaculate Conception. Do you expect to have more dual meets next year, whether it's you or other teams? Where do you think the sport can go from here to keep the momentum?
Well, I know South Jersey's been doing a lot of those girls dual meets. They've been a little bit ahead of us on that. Dale Fava and Tommy Mulligan both saw that they had the numbers to put together a dual meet, and it was really exciting. It was held at Immaculate Conception. They got their own new mat, brand new, beautiful mat. And for the first time, I saw nuns in the stands at Immaculate Conception rooting on their girl wrestlers, which was exciting to see. A whole group of them walked in and my mouth kind of hit the floor. I said, that's right. That's their teachers. The nuns are here to watch the girls wrestle. And they were rooting and pretty excited about it. It was a really special night. Some other girl wrestlers from the area came in from Lodi because Dale Fav is involved with both of those programs. So we got some extra matches on top of, but we did have the first ever dual meet between the Elmwood Park girls and the Immaculate Conception girls. Very exciting. And I definitely see that happening more in the future. I think this is taking off. I'm seeing more and more teams pop up with 3, 4, or 5 girls. Even if we have, meets that are like a tri meet where we bring in 3 teams so that you can get the girls as many matches as you can. It's still technically, according to the NJSIA, an individual sport. So you can do that. You could have those multiple teams in the same location and have them wrestle and it count as a varsity match.
And the biggest ovation that night was when the nuns came in. To your point, that was wild. One last thing, you're a track coach at Ridgefield Park. Obviously, these are unprecedented times. How are you handling the shutdown? Are you in communication with your team to keep them up to date on what you expect them to do?
It is really tough, and everybody's healthy and happy here, but I'm seeing it on both ends because my daughter Samantha Murri is a senior at Fairlawn High School, and was looking forward to her senior lacrosse season. So I'm living with it in the house that she's missing her team. She's a senior. This should be her year. So when I watch her go through it, I realize that every single one of my track athletes is going through it. I know. It was a pretty sad day, the last day of school. I was in homeroom and my star track girl, senior Jada Carroll, who just signed to go to a Felician, was in tears. She said, this is my senior year. And I said, keep your head up. We're going to do everything we can to have some kind of season. And that's where I have to take my hat off to the NJSIA in the state that they didn't just pull the plug right away, that they're giving it every last second they can to try to have some kind of season instead of just rushing to pull the plug. I think it's a great idea. There's no reason to make a decision until we have to make a decision. There's so many side effects that could happen from this. So if we can salvage any type of season, I say we wait to make that decision as long as we can until we have to say no. So I really applaud the athletic directors. You just had Stan on who's making these contingency plans in the NJSIA. I think it's the best thing I could hear as a parent who's dealing with a senior in the house and as a head coach. Our team is staying in as much touch as we can. We have a Google Classroom for track. We're putting workouts on. The coaches put instructional videos on. We send inspirational messages. We also have a team remind. I send messages out to the team and try and stay in touch with them. I just interacted with one of my parents she's a junior, Mia Martinez, her mom, because the college contacted me, expressed how sad she is. And I know Mia already broke our school record in the 400 twice. I couldn't imagine what she was going to do this year. I know she was going after the 800 record. It's a blessing that she's going to have one more year with us. So we'll see where that goes. And hopefully that year will be good for her. But a senior like Jada Carroll, you can't take these things back. There's not one of us that doesn't look back at our senior year as one of the fondest times of your life. And you're not just talking about the sports is a big part of it. I always say, that the things sports gives you in life are priceless. A lot of people, in education say, your school comes first, But I always point at the field and I say, listen, what I learned out here made me great in the classroom. And those lessons are invaluable that they're not getting the full experience of. But we're also here in the house talking to my daughter about her graduation and her prom. And it's a sad thing for those kids that hopefully we can salvage as much of it as we can. I think it's our responsibility as the people who are making these decisions not to make those decisions until they have to be called off.
Right. All right, Dennis, thank you so much for your time and your insights. And yes, we do hold out some hope for the spring season. Before we go, Sean, we had some late-breaking news today about Passaic County canceling their spring tournaments, and it touches on Mr. Murri's point right there about kind of waiting. When I initially got the news, it was kind of like, okay, I can understand. And the more I thought about it, it was like, man, it does seem a little early, especially if we can go all the way to June 30th. So I'm kind of curious we won't put Mr. Murri on the spot. He's not in Passaic County anyway, but Sean, I'm curious to know what you took away from that decision today.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they went forward and made that statement. I know that the athletes, particularly seniors, want to hold on to hope. They appreciate that the NJIC wants to wait as long as possible. They're open to possibly extending the season. But the reality is, the county tournament is going to add on a week or more to your schedule. For Passaic County lacrosse, there's, maybe between 8 to 10 teams. So between the playing rounds and the regular rounds, you're looking at maybe a week or 10 days. For Bergen County, you have so many more teams. Last year, we had 19 teams in the Bergen boys tournament, 19 teams in the Bergen girls tournament. So you're looking at almost 10 days. And you got to remember, with the county tournament, you can't just go right into that action. You can't just send a team right into an elimination format. So you're going to need some leeway where they can warm up, get acclimated after such a long layoff. So I do feel for the kids in Passaic County that won't have those opportunities. Great storylines on the boys' side. Wayne Hills and Wayne Valley have just been excellent teams for the last few years. Was Wayne Valley going to finally get over the hump? For the girls' side, Wayne Hills, won for the first time in several years. They look like they were going to emerge as a superpower. Could they hold off Lakeland again after a classic 14-12 final? So it's disappointing, but the reality is we're going to have to make some tough choices based on the calendar.
Yeah. Sean, thank you so much. So that'll wrap things up tonight here on Varsity Aces Live. I want to thank our guests tonight, Mr. Stan Fryczynski, Mr. Dennis Murri, and as always, my friends and colleagues, Sean Farrell, and the one and only Paul Schwartz. My name is Darren Cooper. Remember, let the coaches coach, the players play, and the officials officiate. Let the Varsity Aces tell you what you need to know. Good night, everybody.